Welcome, race fans, to another episode of the Rubbin' is Racing Daily Fantasy NASCAR show. This week, we're coming to you from the Food City 500 at Bristol Motor Speedway, the world's fastest half mile. I'm Sean Big Papa Williams.
I'm Jamie the Learjet Lear.
And I'm Adrian Woodruff,
who we still got to come up with a nickname for. And we've got a lot of racing action. And before we get into our picks this week, we'll have the track breakdown with Lear and some fun fact stuff with Adrian. Lear, take us away with the track info.
All right, fellas. Good to be with you for another week. I know some of us were on the JGR train last week. A little mixture of Martin Truex in there. Some of us were not. But overall, it's a good race at Texas. But as far as this week, we're coming to you from the Food City 500. Bristol, Tennessee is where it's located at Bristol Motor Speedway. This is an oval-shaped short track, concrete surface. Turns range from 26 to 30 degrees, and the straightaways also have a degree, about 6 to 10 degrees of banking as well. This week we are racing at one of the most famous tracks on all the entire Sprint Cup circuit. Bristol has been hosting races since 1961. This famous short track displays unique features that you will not find on any other track across the country. It holds up to 160,000 people, stadium-like seating, and a lot of bumping and action-packed racing throughout the entire race. There will be a lot of lapping here, cautions aplenty, major pit strategies, cut tires, lots of wrecks, lots of cautions, lots of restarts. Just buckle up and get ready because it's going to be a long and tremendous day as far as the drivers are concerned. Laps led is going to be, the premium here since there are so many. The theme here is also going to be patience, with your drivers as long as the race is, just be patient with them. Because, they could be in first place, 1 minute, and then 15, 20 minutes later, they're in last place. And then they can turn right back around. There's a caution, stay out on the track, get back on the lead lap. And then, another caution after that, they're already back in second place. So just be patient throughout the whole race. And then, as far as like I said, laps led is a premium. And then taking multiple laps of heavy traffic making passes. So interesting fact here about Bristol. Since 2006, so 10 years, there have been 20 total races. The winner has come from the top 10 in 14 out of those 20 races, with the rest starting between the 20th or the 10th and the 20th spot. Kyle Busch has won 5 of the last 20 races here. And the crazy fact is that all of those started are out of the top 10. So Busch has 5 of the 6 races won outside of the top 10. Just crazy fact there. The race will be Sunday afternoon, tomorrow, April 17th at 1 p.m. Eastern on Fox. Weather is 77 degrees. Back to our 0% chance of precipitation, boys. Wind will be northeast at 5 miles an hour, according to weather.com. So the bull race here, let's get it on, boys.
All right, Adrian, what do you have to add to it this week?
If you're playing fantasy NASCAR this weekend at Bristol, make sure you have a bottle of Advil handy because it's going to be a headache. There's so many laps and so many chances for your drivers to make mistakes and get caught up in wrecks. Track position is key here more than any other track we go to, I'd say. It takes the leader an average of 20 laps to catch to the rear of the field and start lapping. Driver doesn't get a move on quick and he gets stuck in traffic. The leader's going to be bearing down on him pretty fast. And there's not really much you can do when the leader's all over you. The top group is going to be the preferred line. All weekend they've been running around the bottom because they haven't got enough rubber built up around the top. But this morning's practice session, they're kind of focusing on trying to get that rubber up there because they know that's where the race is going to be ran. They kind of ground down the top lane so the drivers couldn't go all the way to the cushion. But the drivers will be pushing it to the limits as far as they can because the top group will be the fastest once the tires run out. And like I said, the track position is key. You want to pick drivers that are going to start kind of close to weary that there is a very high chance that the leader will catch them and put them a lap down. And once you get a lap down here, the leader laps so many cars that your driver won't really be able to recover from being down. Maybe down one lap they'll be able to recover if they have a fast car, but once they go 2 down, it's over for them. It's just one of those tracks where the leader's always lapping cars, and that's going to be the biggest factor with our leaders today is how they can get through lap track.
Yeah, I completely agree. And guys, remember, lap sled, fastest laps are always the premium on these short tracks. And the pit strategies are going to be crazy here. Remember also, guys, all of our recommendations, like they're going to become off a lot of stats and gut calls this week. But like we can't solve for wrecks, we can't solve for pit mistakes. But like keep that in mind. We'll do our best. We're trying to figure that out. But with that said, I think that transitions well into the guys that we are going to have that we think are going to do great this week. It's the burning rubber time. There you go, Lear. All right, we'll start off with Adrian. Adrian, who is your pick to burn some rubber this week, buddy?
Matt Kenseth. Matt Kenseth's driving the number 20 General Toyota. Matt Kenseth finally has his crew chief, his spotter, Chris Osborne, back. He got spotted. Chris Osborne's family were involved in a head-on collision with a drunk driver. And their entire family spent a lot of time in the hospital recovering, and it's just great to see Matt spotter back at the track doing what he loves to do, and just glad they can come back to the track. But that communication is key with the spotter. Matt having his spotter back here is going to help him a lot. It's someone that he can trust, and when you're running around cars that you don't usually race around, the lap cars, you really need someone that you can rely on, that you can trust to get you through those lap traffic. But Matt Kenseth is starting in the second position, been on the verge of a win all season long. Ever since Atlanta, when he had such a strong car, and then they had that penalty for the gas man lane, the wedge wrench on the deck lid. I just believe Matt's just been knocking on the door. He's the defending race winner in the spring. He has 32 starts at Bristol with 20 top 10s and 13 top 5s. He has the third best average among active drivers at Bristol. He has the second best as far as lap sled go at Bristol. He has 1,430 laps led here. And he's led laps in 8 of his starts, with the exclusion being a motor failure while he was running 4th in the spring here, in the fall here. And I just believe that Matt Kenseth is kind of knocking on the door. We'll get into the Joe Gibbs cars. We think the Joe Gibbs cars are going to be the ones you have to beat today. I just think that if anyone's going to do it out of the Gibbs guys, it's going to be Matt Kenseth. Kyle Busch is very good at Bristol, but I think that Matt Kenseth is probably the best at Bristol. Over the long haul, he's actually been involved in a lot of wrecks. In 2014, the caution was already out, and he got rear-ended by Timmy Hill. Matt hurt his finish there. I just really believe that Matt Kenseth is ready to win, and Bristol's. If I could put Matt Kenseth on any track to go out and say you have to win, it would be Bristol. And I just think this is one of those races where Matt, kind of says we're still here and we're coming back from last year. All the controversy with Joey Logano. I just believe this is the time that Matt first win to walk him into the chase.
Lear, your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I definitely, before we came out, I was definitely looking at Kenseth as being my burning rubber guy. Last year he went 1-1, which that's, almost virtually impossible to do at Bristol, but it does happen. It's the second time in his career that he actually has gone 1-1. Did it back as well back in 2005, but this week, he's starting in the second spot, but I still love him. He's going to be right up there up front. Him and all the other JGR guys are going to be right up there. But he's probably out of most of the drivers on the circuit, he's got a lot of experience. He's got 32 starts, which, that's crazy amount of starts here. But it is a battle. So a lot of it is going to depend on luck too. And at his price point, he's $10,000. He's right up there with all his other JGR teammates. But I definitely like Matt Kenseth this week, and I will be having some exposure to Matt Kenseth, and I definitely like him.
Yeah, look, as of now, if you've watched the show at all, you guys know how much I despise Matt Kenseth. And making money a lot more than I like to hold grudges, and you really should think about and put Kenseth on a bunch of your rosters this week. He's just in a fast car, and he owns this track. I just love the pick. I love the pick, and I agree with you guys. I was on him for burning rubber, but only one of us can pick that guy. So with that said, Lear, who's your guy to burn some rubber? And I just have a crazy feeling he's going to be part of Team JGR.
That inclination is correct, sir. I'm going to be rolling with the number 11 FedEx, Denny Hamlin. He's starting, he loves this short track. He's starting in the Food City 500, Formula 4 starting position. The JGR guys obviously are showing speed. And let's be honest, they have dominated 2016 so far. I mean, it's just been nothing but, domination by Toyota and Joe Gibbs Racing. Hamlin's been basically non-existent pretty much, though, since his opening win at Daytona 7 races ago. He's had some really sad fantasy numbers, for his cost as well. This week, his cost is going to be about $9,600, which is almost $1,000 higher than his average cost over the start of the season so far for 2016. Mm-hmm. He will be up front, lead some laps. He started here last year, finished third, and led 54 laps. Denny's my pick for the top driver due to his cost being under $10,000. People are off of him due to his performances of late. But I think he's a good GPP player this week because, I think a lot of people will look at the data and see, God, why is he so expensive this week? Because he's pretty good at Bristol. He is a winner here. He's only won once in 20 starts, but he's got 5 top 5s and 9 top 10s. But he's going to be right up there with all the other JGR guys. And on top of that, I think a lot of people are kind of off of him just based off of what he's been doing since Daytona happened. So I think you're going to get a pretty sweet ownage percentage there with Denny Hamlin, even though he's going to be up in that top 5 starting. He's $9,600, but I think a lot of people are going to stay off of it.
Yeah, I agree. He will be the lowest owned of the JGR cars. I think that's a given. My problem is he's by far the most inconsistent of the JGR drivers, like in general on the NASCAR circuit, but specifically here at Bristol. He's all over the place. The problem is not because of the way he races here, but his team inherently has terrible pit decisions, and it's every race here. I don't know why, but every race that he's not in the top 10, it's a bad pit decision that costs them the race. And it seems to be almost something that like you can't avoid for him at this point. And I don't know. I have lineups with him. I have lineups without him, and I think that's probably the safest approach. Adrian, your thoughts?
Yeah, just to touch on what you said about the bad pit decisions. I think the bad pit decisions are a thing of the past. Denny's crew chief, Mike Wheeler, or as everyone knows him as Wheels, I think he's the best crew chief Denny Hamlin's had since Mike Ford back when Denny was fighting for the 2010 championship. Mike Wheeler is just a genius on top of the box. And they haven't really caught the breaks haven't had to catch the breaks they needed this season because they won the Daytona 500. So all they're really worried about is going out and getting the win. And that's one reason I like Denny Hamlin this weekend, because it's a completely stress-free weekend. All Denny's really worried about is going out and getting the victory. And this is a concrete surface. And Denny Hamlin is one of those drivers. There's they just love concrete tracks. Denny Hamlin, Carl Edwards, and Jimmy Johnson are 3 guys who come to mind when we go to a concrete racetrack. And they're just guys who know how to get it done. This is a concrete surface, just like Dover and Martinsville. And Denny's very good at those tracks. And if Martinsville had a sister track, it would be Bristol. And when we were in Martinsville, everybody was on Denny Hamlin. So, if you're going to stack the JGR guys, which I think is one of the good plays this weekend, Denny's only 9,600, and that's kind of, that's pretty cheap for one of the top guys because most of the guys are, there's a lot of guys ahead of him. So, I don't have a problem playing Denny Hamlin this week. He's definitely not, my top option, but last week Carl Edwards wasn't my top option. He went out and
boom.
Yeah, it's just, speaking of cousin Carl, that is my pick to burn some rubber this week. And guys, look, we're not just like copping out on the JGR, like on the JGR train, but these JGR cars are super fast. They run this track very well, and with laps led and fastest laps being a premium, and the fact that all of them are sticking together in a pack where they've qualified, I think that they're going to dominate this race, and from green to checkered. And Carl's in a unique spot. Like, first of all, he's fairly cheap at $9,900 versus the other guys for who he is at this track. But the other part is he's due for a win. He has 3 top 5s and 6 top 7s so far this year. So you're going to get most likely you're going to get a top 10 finish out of Cousin Carl. I think that's part of what makes him a great play this week. I think the other part is he traditionally leads around 80 laps on this track, and that's automatically 20 bonus points that you get to put in your bag. That with a top 10 finish, and you're going to want Cousin Carl on every lineup. Even if he doesn't go 1-to-1, he will still more than pay off, and you will be happy with it. So trust me, roster Cousin Carl. Adrian, your thoughts?
I believe Papa is completely correct. Those bonus points are what's going to win you these GPPs and, even your cash games. Last weekend, Carl started on the pole, and I was really worried, that, he might drop back in the field. But, him only leading 100 laps like last weekend made it to where you wouldn't cash if you didn't have Carl on your lineup. Carl has that number one pit box again this weekend, and his pickers nut they did last weekend. That cost them so crucial. And I just don't believe that, they're professionals, and I don't think that they're going to make that same mistake again to put Carl in the spot. All we really need Carl to do is lead the first 100 or 500 laps, and he's already a guaranteed lock for your lineup.
Mm-hmm.
And starting the pole, Kenseth's going to catch him at some point, but all we need Carl to do is jump out, get clean air. If he gets clean air, he's going to get fastest laps for at least, like I said, the first 20 laps, and that's 10 extra points right there.
Mm-hmm.
If he just, the first 20 laps as he's catching rear of the field in clean air, not having to fight traffic, just laps. As far as the JGR stat goes, I'm really looking at Carl this week, and he wants to, redeem himself from last weekend because it wasn't his fault that he didn't win the race. Other than Martin Truex Jr., he had the best car. It was just, those small pit road mistakes that get you over the course of a long season. And Carl Edwards is just like Matt Kenseth. He's due for a win, and he's knocking on the door. All you really need to do in this sport is run top 5, and you have a chance to win the race. And Carl Edwards is a top 5 driver, and he loves this track, winning here in 2014.
Leary, your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I'm totally all about Carl, Cousin Carl again this week. He's got 23 starts here. He's got 3 wins, 5 top 5s, 10 top 10s. Starting from the pole, there's no doubt he's going to have, his laps led and fastest laps. And, he's going to be one of those guys again, just like last week when I recommended him as my burning rubber. He's going to need to be on your roster this week. Do anything that you can to fit him in there, especially because he's under that 10K price point. And I think a lot of people too, kind of same deal. So his ownership percentage may be lagging just a little bit just because the masses will go, you won started from the pole last week. But also too, I think that, with him leading up front, I think he has a really, really, honestly, truly good shot of winning the race this week, going 1-to-1.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely all about the JGR stacking this week, boys.
All right. That leads us into the value segment. This is where we find guys that you have to get. You have to find sources of value to fit those studs on your lineups in order to take down some GPPs into cash. So we'll start off with Adrian. Who do you have as your value play this week, buddy?
What do you guys say we pick somebody that's not on Team JGR? How about we go with a Ford Roush Fenway Racing? We're going to go with Ricky Stenhouse Jr., the number 17 Zest Ford. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is probably actually, under – I don't know how I should say this. People don't realize how far under the radar he's flying. He's finished in the top 10 in 3 of his last 4 starts in the NASCAR Sprint Cup. He's starting in the 32nd position, which is a crazy amount of potential to move up.
Mm-hmm.
He has the best average finish at Bristol among active drivers. Actually, he has the best average finish at Bristol among any driver to ever start Bristol in all their races. He's only started 6 races, but his average finish of 11th is best all time.
Yeah.
He has 50% of his career top 5s have came at Bristol. He's completed all 7 laps at Bristol in his 6 starts. Bristol is Ricky's favorite racetrack. He ran very well here when he ran in the Xfinity Series, winning 2 championships. And in 2014, he finished runner-up here. With the top 10 in 3 of his last 6 Bristol starts, you don't really need a top 10 from the 32nd starting position. All I really want from Ricky is a top 15 this weekend. And I said last weekend that Greg Biffle was my lock, and if Biffle would have been a decent play had he not been involved in that wreck with Casey Kane, But I'm going to keep rolling with Rush Fenway Racing. I just love they've made this year. Trevor Bayne qualified 10th this weekend. That's a great run for him. Trevor's always been a great qualifier, and he's just proving the speed that Rush Fenway has. The only reason Ricky qualified so bad in 32nd is because he drove a little too deep into the corner, and by the time he recovered on the next lap, his tires were already spent, and he didn't have enough time to make another run in the first session. So, I mean, I was really glad that he qualified 32nd because that's really going to help him be even more of a lock this weekend. And at only 6,400, I mean, you got to pick those bottom of the barrel guys. And I think Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is a chase driver this year. I mean, I feel free to argue with me, but I think Ricky is definitely a top 16 driver. And I just love this thing.
Larry, your thoughts?
Well, you can definitely tell, compared to last year, as far as Stenhouse goes, he's really starting to get it, man. It's really starting to click, and you can see it, in his product of work. He's got 4 top 10s already this year. And literally, if you go on DraftKings and you look around the same price point as all the other drivers at that area, I mean, you're struggling to find guys that even have 2 top 10 finishes out of all the races, let alone 4 of them. So, with him starting at the 32nd position, his price point of 6,400, you just can't go wrong because, I mean, as long as you're that zesty clean and you get up to the front, I mean, it's all about getting those points of that place differential, and he definitely has the ability to do that. So I'm also right there with you with the Ricky Stenhouse Jr. play, and he is one lucky man because he gets to go home to Danica Patrick every night.
Yeah, man.
Ricky too quick.
Not only do I respect him for that, but here's a fun stat that you guys haven't talked about. In 5 of 6 starts at Bristol, you get positive place differential from him. Plus 12, plus 9, plus 19, plus 15, plus 21. Sign me up all day at that price tag. Everything else you guys have said is true. Like, Stenhouse is probably going to take down a GPP for someone this weekend. Like, mark it. All right,
bro.
With that said, Lear, who's your pick? And I'm guessing it's not another JGR because they're all too expensive.
You are correct, sir. So my sleeper guy this week, I mean, I don't know if you really can consider him such a sleeper driver, but he's one of those guys that's kind of middle pack there. But I rolled with the number 42 target car of Kyle Larson. Man, Larson's missed. I've missed talking about you, dude. We were all about you last year. Having some good conversations with you. So I know you're checking out the show every week. We appreciate the love. Keep what you're doing. But he has only raced here 4 times in his whole entire career with an average start of 21.5 and an average finish of 17.5. This includes him, being involved in a wreck last year when he started 12th and finished in the 41st position because of that wreck. He's starting from the 25th position this week, and definitely is my place differential player this week, along with Ricky Stenhouse. But his cost is coming down, from the last few weeks. He's down $600 from last week. His cost this week is $7,600. And this is only the second time in this season so far that his cost has been below that 8K mark and been in the 7K. So players will look at him in the mid-pack. He has a horrible finish due to a crash last year, and his put his experience into consideration. Should be a very low-owned guy, and if he performs like I think he can this week, he's going to be a difference maker in winning that GPP for you. So I really love Kyle Larson this week. Kyle, don't prove me wrong, brother, and let's do it for the masses. But let's get it done, number 42.
Yeah, this is another place where I'm in complete agreement with you. I love the kid, and he's a stud here at Bristol. I took out the wreck when I was doing my analysis, and that gives him an average starting position of 24.6 and an average finishing position of 9.6. Hello, place differential. Sign me up. Give me 15 positive points automatically. And at the price tag, you just can't go wrong. These guys, both the last picks, guys, show up at this track and almost always, unless they're tangled up in a wreck, get you positive track position and place positions. I'm on board. Adrian, your thoughts?
Yeah, do you guys remember what happened the last time we were at a half-mile short track? Kyle Larson finished third, which was his first top 5 of the season. Kyle Larson's team is finally trying to get it together. They don't have a program where they want it, as far as the success that Jamie McMurray's had at the mile-and-a-half tracks for Chip Ganassi over the years. But their short track program, I mean, you put Kyle Larson in anything, he's going to go fast. I saw a tweet that Larson made this morning, talking to Kevin Harvick's crew chief Rodney Childers was talking about how the practice is ran in the morning, but they're going to run in the hot, which didn't make a lot of sense to them. And Larson was like, okay, well, tell your driver, let's try to work in the high side, because if anybody's going to get to the high side, which, like I said earlier, is going to be the fastest way around the track, I'll take the dirt car guys of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. any day. I mean, this is a track where you got to run up against the cushion. You got to, when you go into the corner, you're aiming at the wall. Like, that's your point of reference. Like, you just got to have, the cojones to, go in there and pack it deep into the corner and make it out the other side. I mean, Kyle Larson is a wheel man. I love Larson. I really, hope he starts showing the success that I know he can have lately. And I remember an Xfinity race a few years back where Kyle Larson gave Kyle Busch everything he could handle to finish second. I mean, I just love Kyle Larson. I mean, his price is good compared to what it's been all season. His price kind of prohibits you from being able to stack, as many studs as you can. But I mean, if you can get Larson for $7,600, I think that's the best price you're going to get him at. And at Bristol Motor Speedway is a great spot to play him.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. That brings me to my value play, and guess what, boys? I am all aboard the Bain train this week. He's underpriced, criminally underpriced. $5,900 is way too cheap for a guy in this equipment. Period. End of story. That's all I really need. But the real interesting thing is, guys, he gets better every race here. He's in a really fast Roush car. And before the era of JGR dominating at Bristol in these short tracks and dominating this season, Roush cars were the cars you wanted to be on. And that's why we gave you both of the Roush cars in value. They're underpriced, and it's the right way to go. Now, I think you're going to get extra bonus points here on ownership percentage, because I think people will be scared with him qualifying 10th. I don't think that you have to worry, because even with him qualifying 10th, if he falls back and as long as he finishes top 20, if he leads a couple of laps or can be the fastest car out there, which is easy to do in that top 10 pack, he's going to get you enough points that you're going to be happy at the $5,900 price tag. And when you scroll down on DraftKings to the bottom of the page, he's by far the best driver of anywhere even remotely close that is going to be on that page. And he's better than most drivers that are listed in the 7s, and he's listed below 6. So your guys' thoughts?
I feel like, people probably don't take what I say about Trevor Bayne to heart, because they just feel like I'm, blowing smoke the whole time because he's my favorite driver. I am a homer for Trevor Bayne. I've been a Trevor Bayne fan probably since like 2007. But I just love Trevor Bayne this weekend, guys. I mean, I texted these guys earlier in the week, and I was like, do you guys realize Trevor Bayne is $5,900? I mean, Regan Smith and Michael McDowell both cost more than him, and he's a way better driver and way better equipment. That car is on a rail this weekend at Travio during practice, and he was just absolutely just loving the amount of grip off the corner. Forward drive off the corner is going to be the most important part this weekend. If you can get that car pointed and be able to unload the steering wheel and not have any wheel bound up in it as you're coming off the corner, you're going to be able to get a straight shot off, and you're going to be able to outperform those guys off the corner, because that's where you're going to make your passes, is being able to get through the center of the corner and off. You spend 4 seconds a lap in each corner. So that's 8 seconds of an average of 15, 16-second lap that you're spinning in the corners. So if your car's not turning well, you're not going to have to be successful this weekend. And at $5,900, I mean, guys, Trevor Bayne had a legitimate chance to win last weekend with the strategies that Matt Pusha had. I mean, they stayed out, and if the race would have stayed green, if they would not have won, they would have finished top 3. He led 12 laps, which is actually the most laps he's ever ran. It's the most laps he's led in a Sprint Cup race to date. And I just believe that this team is peaking at the right time. I don't necessarily think that they're going to go out and win the race. Of course not, because they're not there yet. But they're making strides, and they're a lot better than they were here last season. And as long as they don't have any kind of brake train wreck, I think Trevor Bayne is going to be a lock for a top 15 this weekend, and I'm really excited to see the strides that team has made. And it's Trevor's hometown racetrack. He's from Knoxville, Tennessee. He's been coming to this racetrack watching races since he was 5 years old. He came into the pits at they snuck him in the pit like 8 years old so he could meet his favorite driver, Jeff Gordon. So I mean, he's been around Bristol for a long time. And call me a homer, but Trevor Bayne's the man.
Lear, your thoughts?
Yeah, ditto what Adrian said. I mean, there's nothing else I could really add.
You can't. Wait, you can't follow.
You have the super fan there, and I mean, I really can't add anything to it. But I mean, Trevor Bayne, I definitely like him for that $5,900 price point. Like we've already talked about. I mean, you're not going to get anybody with the quality of talent or anything like that that at that price point at $5,900 under $6K, and for a plug and play player for the potential to be up there. I mean, he's from the starting position of where he's at, in that top 10 spot. That 10 hole. I mean, there's no way that you're going to get anybody that far up with the potential of leading some laps. And, like Adrian said last week, he led 12 laps. And I mean, even just to get somebody at 5,900 that has the possibility of leading any laps, it's crazy. So, yeah, I mean, he's definitely going to be a guy that you should, plug and play here and there. He's not going to be on every single one of my teams, but I'm definitely going to have some exposure to Trevor Bayne this week for sure in that number 6.
All right, kids. I think that wraps up the value segment. And that means it's time for everybody's favorite segment, the Going to the Garage. This is where we get to talk trash on either the car, the driver, or their history at the track, and why we don't think, or their price, and why we don't think you should own them. Now let's get it started with Adrian. Who's your guy to go to the garage this week?
I'm kind of hesitant to tell you guys who my Going to the Garage is because I don't need this guy to start sending me hate mail because I picked him 2 weeks in a row as my Going to the Garage pick. But I'm taking Casey Mears in the number 13 Geico Chevrolet. He's starting in the 16th position, which I normally wouldn't be, jumping on it to tell you guys not to pick Casey Mears if he would have started somewhere around 30th. But Casey Mears is starting 16th. He is everywhere. I mean, he's not going forward. He's going backwards with all the drivers that are starting behind him. He has one top 20 in his last 12 starts at Bristol. And he had over his 26 career starts, which, shows he has experience at this track. He's only finished in the top 24 times. And if he doesn't finish in the top 20 from the 16th starting spot, he's going to do nothing but hurt your roster. I mean, there's not much I can say other than overqualification. These guys are going to give you picks that, you might, but I just want to make sure that no one's actually picking Casey Mears because I just feel like he's going to do nothing but hurt your lineups.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I've had some previous love for Casey Mears, but not at Bristol. I mean, you look at his race history, like you said. I mean, he hasn't finished higher than, it looks like his highest finish is 15th, and that was in 2013. Other than that, every single start or every single finish has been top 20 or higher. And for a guy starting in that 16th position, do I have any trust that he's going to finish there or even higher? Absolutely not. Now, will the NASCAR gods look down on him and crash everybody around him except for him and making it through I don't know, So it's just one of those variables that could happen. But am I specifically going out and looking at putting Casey Mears on my team? Absolutely not. But if you want a GPP off, be on an island by yourself for a $6,200 price point, yeah, he might be worth a plug and play here and there. But am I going to specifically look forward to put him in my lineups? Absolutely not. So,
yeah, I do. The statistics don't lie. The numbers say he's going to go backwards. It's overqualification, and for me, it's that simple. And it's that simple of a fade. And you always get a little attracted to Mears because of his price, but ultimately, when you look at it, there's a reason why. There's a reason why he's cheap. Like, he's not going to do anything for you. With that said, Lear, who's your guy to go to the garage this week?
All right. Well, I'm going to actually go with a guy, ruffle some feathers here and see if we can't have some good conversation. But I'm going to be going with the number 18, the hottest guy on the circuit right now, Kyle Busch. Obviously, everybody knows what he's done as of late. He's, obviously by far the hottest driver on the NASCAR circuit. He's got 3 wins so far in 2016. And I'm sure you've heard my stats about Rowdy here at Bristol, but earlier. But he is a 5-time winner here at Bristol, with all those victories coming from between the 10th and the 20th starting position. In his last 5 races here at Bristol, he has started in the top 10 4 times, with 2 of those 4 times finishing 29th or higher. He has been on a hot streak, and this is the week that I think that it ends. Everyone will be on him starting at the 5th position, but his cost is absolutely crippling this week at $10,700. All good things must come to an end at some point. Kyle's current success will result with no benefit of you owning him this week at that price. I mean, I'm sorry, $10,700. I mean, that's going to cripple your lineups as far as what you can do and your diversification that you can do for your lineups. He's not going to pay dividends this week, and I will be owning 0 Kyle Busch this week. And I hope it pays off for me, because I think a lot of people are going to be on him just because he's starting in that top 10, also in the outside of the top 5 there. But then, also too, I think just based off of what he's been doing the last couple of weeks, and being the hottest driver, that a lot of people are still going to be on that train. Do I think Kyle Busch is going to lead some laps? Yeah, he's going to lead some, he'll have some laps led. But I just have a deep sinking feeling that at that price point, he's not going to pay your dividends for that amount that you have to pay for him this week.
All right, Lear. I love you, bro, but I have to.
I'm settling up, man.
I have to completely disagree with you, and I understand you're reaching deep in your soul and trying to go all Rain Man and like find that pick, but like you're just like 0 ownership percentage on the best driver on this track. It is absurd, sir. Especially when he's the hottest driver in NASCAR. Like, I cannot sit here and tell people that are watching the show to light money on fire, which is what you are prospectively doing by not rostering any sort of Kyle Busch. Now, there is the off chance that that there's equipment malfunction or that he gets into a wreck, dude. But that is going all Rain Man and trying to predict an anomaly. Let's just look at he has 5 wins, 8 top 5s in 21 races. 62% of the time, he's a top 10 car. That alone would pay off, especially if he led enough laps and had enough fastest laps. But he's led over 1,704 laps here. That's 700 more than the next closest guy, in Kurt Busch. And he grades out as one of the best drivers. Here's what doesn't make any sense to me, Lear. All 3 of us picked JGR cars as Bowdy. This guy has the same car as those guys, and he's actually better at this track than those other guys, and he's on a hotter streak, and you're just fade him for no reason other than your gut. I cannot tell people to do that. I'm sorry, guys. Do not fade. Play him and make money. Adrian, your call.
Oh, I love it, Lear. I love it. Okay, so I don't think he's crazy, Papa. I really don't think he's crazy.
Oh, boys, don't light money on fire.
Kyle Busch has had so much success this season that if one thing goes wrong this weekend, he's going to completely crumble. And Kyle Busch has always been that kind of driver, and he always will be that kind of driver. He won the championship last year, but it does not change the fact that over his career, he's always been a driver where if one little thing goes wrong, he can't recover from it. I was never going to be able to recover from it. The king of speeding penalties on pit road at Bristol Motor Speedway. I just don't know what it is about Kyle Busch and this track, but he can be having a good run and be running 5th, and even if he's running 5th all day, I mean, with 50 laps to go, if he gets a speeding penalty, he's done. I mean, I agree with both of you. I agree that we picked all the JGR cars, and it doesn't make a lot of sense that we're saying fade Kyle Busch. But Kyle Busch's salary, like Lear said, is $10,700. That costs so much money, and it makes it to where you basically, I mean, your entire lineup is affected just by picking Kyle Busch. In a public race, he's not going to be a very good pick. And when you have guys at the front of the pack like Carl Edwards and Matt Kenseth and Joey Logano, I mean, who's to say Kyle Busch is just going to plow through those guys? Kyle Busch, I mean, has won 2 races in a row, and I don't think he's going to win 3 in a row. He's very good at Bristol, but when he doesn't win at Bristol, he doesn't run around the top 10. He's going to run around 30th. And that's always been Kyle Busch's kind of mantra at Bristol Motor Speedway. Like I said, I agree with both of you, and I can't say if I'm on either side of the fence. But I don't have Kyle Busch in all my lineups, and I don't even have Kyle Busch in 50% of my lineups. I just think that he costs too much money. There's way better drivers, and I won't say better drivers because Kyle Busch is the best driver in the sport right now. There's way better price points that you can go for, and there's a lot. If a driver can lead a bunch of laps, and you don't need Kyle Busch on your team.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I agree with both of you, but I don't think Lear's crazy. I could definitely see Kyle Busch having a very terrible race. Like I said, if Kyle Busch isn't dominating, he's not running top 10.
Oh, I agree, dude. And I'm not telling you to go 100% on Kyle Busch. Like that's not what I would ever tell anybody. You should never go 100% on anyone. But like,
no, he's just giving me a hard time because he thinks I'm Rain Man and it with all the JGR love, and then all of a sudden coming out and like,
no. Part of it.
Don't play any Kyle Busch.
No, dude, part of it.
He was right when he said to do that with Junior at Auto Club. I mean, he said don't pick Junior at Auto Club, and Junior crashed like 5 laps into the race.
Yeah, fair enough, dude. But like, here's the thing. Like, let's take your Golden State jersey for example. Like, you have all right. So we got Curry in a matchup against the Lakers, and you know that 50% of the time, basically, he's going to drop an 80 burger in fantasy. Like, regardless of his price, you have to kind of roster him, don't you?
Yeah, of course.
That's all I'm saying, dude. You can't go 0% Lear. Like 0% is just ridiculous.
I'm gonna do it anyways because I don't care. That's me personally. Do whatever you want to out there, but I'm not gonna roster him.
I love it. That's why I like this guy.
Hey,
That's why I like this guy.
If at least he's a man of his convictions. He will light every dollar on fire if he's wrong.
That's right.
But if I'm right,
those guns.
I'm right.
Right. Fair enough. And I'm not going to be without controversy this week either because I'm going to tell you to fade the other Busch and fade Kurt Busch at 9,400. Look, his best finish here was 5th in fall of 2014. Other than that, since he joined Stewart-Haas Racing, he's gone backwards every time out at this track. All his positive stats are from 11 plus years ago on this track. Like, I just don't want any piece of it. While we're talking about it, in my personal opinion, I would fade all of Stewart-Haas Racing this week. I don't have any problem fading those cars at Bristol. His average start here is 13.6 with an average finish of 17.4 going back. I just don't care for any of those Stewart-Haas cars this week, really. Well, there's 2 that I don't mind, but yeah. Your guys' thoughts? I can tell you're chomping at the bit. Adrian, go ahead, light me up on Kurt.
Ooh, I was putting the coals in the fire as you were talking. Kurt Busch is he's starting in the 26th position, which among the elite drivers is so far back there because you have all of your from 9K up. It seems like every single one of those guys is starting in the top 10, other than Kurt Busch and Dale Earnhardt Jr. And I have a lot of lineups where I have Kurt Busch and Dale Earnhardt Jr. Because if you have one guy who's going to dominate these races, usually there's not 5 drivers who lead 100 laps in these races. You have one driver who leads about 230, another driver who leads about 120, and another driver who leads somewhere around that. So I don't believe that you necessarily need Kurt Busch to lead any laps, but just watching the previous year's race replays, Kurt Busch, generally starts kind of close to the back where he's starting in 26th, but he always seems to find his way to the top 5 at Bristol. And you're completely correct. People talk about, Kurt Busch has 5 wins at this track, and he's really impressive. But most of those wins came back around 2004 when he was driving the number 97 for Roush Fenway. I just believe that, Kurt Busch is this track and having so many starts here are going to benefit him this weekend. I don't think you're crazy for saying not to pick Kurt Busch. I don't think Kurt Busch is going to be anywhere close to those kids guys. But just based on price differential, I don't think that it's crazy to play Kurt Busch.
Lear, your thoughts, bud?
As far as that goes, it is kind of sexy though to see him in that 26th spot. But the problem with Kurt Busch is you're laying down $9,400 in a salary point to get him on your roster, and it's just hard to do. With you really want the people up in the front of the race with this track. So, but I definitely don't mind Kurt Busch. I mean, I probably will sprinkle him in here and there. He does have 5 wins, but like we talked about, I mean, his last wins coming in almost 10 years ago, 2006. with Roger Penske in the Miller Lite. So, as far as that goes, Kurt Busch, I kind of liked him early part of the week, but later on, the more I did some research, I was kind of like, I'm not really all about him like I was early part of the week. So, like I said, I will have some exposure, but just not a ton. But we're talking a little bit about Stuart Haas. What about our buddy Kevin Harvick? We haven't mentioned him at all yet this show, but the guy did lead 100, I believe it was 100. Let me take a look here. 184 laps last year, and he's 10,500. I know he's just under Kyle Busch, and kind of same area there. He's starting. Where's he starting from?
The seventh position.
Seventh. I mean, he's right up there, and he could shoot right up there towards the front. So, it's one of those where I think a lot of people will be off the Harvick train, and he's done fairly decent here at Bristol, but by no means is this his 1.5 mile signature stud track. But yeah, I'm kind of right there with you, Papa, with staying away from the Stuart Haas guys.
And I just want to go back to kind of what Jamie was talking about with Kyle Busch. His ownership percentage this weekend, if there's been any weekends to actually, wake up and pick Kyle Busch, I'm not saying, like we said, that Kyle Busch might have troubles this weekend, but most people who play fantasy NASCAR don't really know what they're doing. So, I mean, you see Kyle Busch is the most expensive guy on the board. And if any of us were going and saying, okay, we're going to play soccer this weekend, we're going to pick the top goalie, we're going to try to pick the top, midfielder. That's what people are doing when they play NASCAR. They're going to see the Kyle Busch. They're going to look at the stats. They're going to be like, oh my God, he had 180 points in this race. He had 89 at this race.
Yeah,
and they're going to go ahead and pick Kyle Busch. So if Kyle Busch has any trouble this weekend, you absolutely just take the field and just wipe them away, and you can be standing on top of them. So say, pick some lineups without Kyle Busch, because in the chance that Kyle Busch has trouble, I think that if any driver has trouble and it's going to put you on an island, it's going to be not having Kyle Busch that's going to put you to the top.
Yeah, fair enough. Do that analysis solid. I was thinking of it partially the other way, as that his price was so high that most people aren't willing to sacrifice, and they aren't smart enough and educated enough to choose the value drivers at the bottom. Therefore, they would automatically sacrifice putting Kyle Busch on the team and just going with the more of the name associated plays. Yeah. Right. That tends to.
Most people.
Oh, sorry. It just tends to happen in NASCAR, and you honestly never know which way it's going to go. One week it's one way, the next week it's the other way. It just depends on how fickle people are feeling that week.
Right.
But
yeah, I mean, Kyle started last in Atlanta, and his ownership percentage was so low that it was crazy. If you don't really know what you're doing and you don't really realize how expensive 10-7 is, if you don't usually play NASCAR like we do, and you don't really know what Kyle Busch's price has been recently, like at Martinsville, his price was only $9,800, and it's almost $900 more now. I feel like most people who play fantasy NASCAR don't realize how expensive that is and how much more value you can get on the board.
Oh no, for sure. Let's be honest, guys. He has to in order for him to pay off this price tag, he really has to lead over 100 laps and be the fastest car for over 100 laps. If he does that and finishes anywhere in the top 10, and you don't own him, you're going to get punished. If he doesn't do that and finishes outside, you're going to be grateful that you faded him. That's why, guys, I'm really glad we took a little bit of extra time to get back into the Kyle conversation, and I'm glad Lear brought it up, and pointed it out, because it's important for people to know. This is just one of the dilemmas that you have to deal with in daily fantasy NASCAR. Wouldn't you agree, Lear?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. It's one of those scenarios where you just got to go with kind of what you see as far as what the stats are telling you, but also just based off of historical data here. But it's a new race. It's the 2016 Food City 500, and anything can happen, especially at Bristol. I mean, a lot of luck is going to play involved here with this race. Because there's going to be a ton of wrecks. I mean, even like last year, okay, Kevin Harvick is basically dominating this race, and then all of a sudden, I forget who got spun out, but then he had no place to go and went right into the back of this driver, and he was done. He was done for the race. And I mean, like stuff like that could happen at any time in this race. So it's really just a big crapshoot.
It really is. Like you can make an educated crapshoot.
Yeah. But that's the thing too, is I'll be honest with everybody, you know, my strong suit is not these smaller type tracks. I really, you know, and this is just me personally, I much rather play, you know, the 1.5s, you know, the two mile tracks. These short tracks, it's definitely a lot more chance, a lot more luck plays involved with, a lot less skill as far as the fantasy player goes. So, you know, as far as how much I'm going to be playing this weekend, it definitely will not be my normal amount of playing because it's just there's too many variables in there for me to go all in with all my money.
Fair enough, Larry. I don't know that you can call it
the same way.
I don't know that you can say it's too variable when you talk about 0% owning the best driver at the track. Like, that's kind of on you, buddy. No, I'm just messing with you.
Well, that's what's going to make the difference, man, is either I'm really going to be a GOAT and I'm going to, you know, lose, you know, whatever I play, or I'm really going to, you know, be up there and be the king of the DraftKings tournament. So
fair enough. All right, guys.
Poobah, if you will.
With that said, it's time to get into our lineup where we select a lineup. Instead of doing the $5 lug nut, there's a huge $250K pedal to the metal with $50,000 to first. We're going to put the entry in that this week that you'll be able to check out. So, guys, who are we going to start off with rostering on this team? Lear, give me your guy. Give me your first guy.
First guy. I mean,
where are we going to start this lineup, man?
I think obviously we got some JGR love, so. I think you either roll with Edwards, Kenseth, or Hamlin. Pick your poison.
All right.
I think Edwards. I think you got to pick Edwards starting on the pole with that number one pit box.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. You want the number one pit box and the early laps led. That's just too easy to not take advantage of right there. All right. That leaves us $8,020 remaining with 5 spots left. Where do we go now, Adrian?
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. at 6,400.
Love it. Reach down here, grab Ricky Stenhouse at 6,300. Excuse me. That brings our total back to 8,425. Now, a guy we didn't talk a lot about, we didn't really talk about Truex and being part of the JGR car crew, sharing. We didn't talk a lot about Earnhardt starting in the back of the pack. You know, all these guys have potential for various reasons. Are you guys leaning anywhere with any of these picks, like a little bit more than another?
Oh yeah, if I can jump in, I think Dale Earnhardt Jr. other than Kyle Busch is the hottest driver on the circuit. Starting in the 20th position, I think at $9,100, he's an awesome pick because Dale Jr. has been knocking on the door for the past few weeks now. And, you know, if one break goes his way here and there, I mean, he's winning a race. So I love Junior this year.
I will tell you this much, man. I actually like where your head's at here. But they could not get that car to turn through the corners, like in qualifying or in practice yet.
But I mean, obviously,
I think that team's so good. So, yes, that's not a problem.
Yeah, so far, I mean, through 2016, if we've not learned anything at all, is Dale Earnhardt Jr. has been starting. You know, he's been having real poor qualifying situations throughout the entire 2016 season so far. But him and his team have been able to work out the kinks, and by the time the end of the race comes, I mean, he's been a top 5 finisher. It's been crazy, and I'm right there with Adrian. I think he's a good play this week too.
Right on. All right, dude. You guys won. I put him on the lineup.
Nice.
All right. That leaves us 8,200 remaining. Where are we going next?
You have an 88 on your hat. Like, he has an 88 on his hat, and you send here telling us that Junior's not a good pick.
Dude,
I know. Crazy,
guys,
right?
I love me some Junior, but you guys know my argument on why I don't play him in NASCAR a whole lot.
Yeah, because he's loved by everybody. I know. Yes, I get it. But
he's the number 1 owned guy every week. Like, he'll be he'll be more owned than Kyle Busch this week. I'll put money on it.
Okay, but in the end, when that person scores a lot of points, it doesn't matter what they're
as long as you guys have
them on your roster.
No, as long as you guys have them scoring a lot of points, we're good. I was worried about that car turning in the corners.
I just think he's too hot right now at 9,100. He's just been so close. I mean, he finished second last weekend.
Fair enough. All right, where are we going next with 8,200 remaining?
I'd like to see us put some Kyle Larson in there because, I mean, he's going to be a little bit of salary relief. But like I said, I really think he's got a great shot at having a good race this weekend and producing a lot of points.
I absolutely love it.
Larson!
Like, why don't we go ahead and roll the Bane train on there too? And that lets us. Oh, look, I can fit Kyle Busch.
I was thinking.
I can fit Kyle Busch on there. I know that's but I just wanted to show you guys it wasn't that. It's not that hard to get Kyle on a team.
It's not, but I hate Kyle Busch.
Oh, the honesty. All right, so where are we going, guys? Like, we literally have anyone. We haven't talked about Jimmy Johnson. Anybody want to make a Jimmy plug?
I think we should play Matt Kenseth, and then maybe.
Dude, you know what? I love it. Let's play Kenseth. We'll leave the 1,100 in salary.
No one else is going to leave 1,100.
No one will. And we've talked about previously how important that is. All right, guys. Remember, I wouldn't copy this lineup exactly. There's 71,000 people in this stupid tournament, so please don't copy it exactly. Make some sort of adjustment to it, and you'll be able to watch that team in the pedal to the metal. All right. That wraps up another show for us.
Thanks for watching. We had a lot of fan interaction last weekend in our video, and we love to see that kind of stuff. Like I said, Papa will try to put our Twitter handles in the description of this video so you know how to spell them properly, so you can shoot us any questions throughout the weekend to help adjust your lineup. Also wanted to say good luck to the Golden State Warriors. Game 1 of the first round of the NBA playoffs against the Houston Rockets today. Hoping my boy Steph Curry can get the job done and head to round 2.
There you go. Lear.
Well, I'm severely disappointed. I'm sitting in a Mexican restaurant last week on Sunday with my family, and I see Jordan Spieth, just trickling down his leg, and that was mind-blowing, man, because at a 9.6% owner's percentage, that hurt me. But back to focusing on NASCAR. I love watching Bristol. I think Bristol is a fun track to watch. I mean, this is where the brethren of where NASCAR got its roots is short track racing. And, a lot of dirt tracks, and this is where a lot of the guys got their starts. So, I mean, it kind of takes them back to, back to racing before they were in the NASCAR circuit. But I definitely think that when it comes to Bristol, anything can happen, boys. It's a chance of luck there. And, all you have to do is when you watch it, just take a breath if something happens, because, it's a long race, and unfortunately, wrecks do happen. Just, cross your fingers and hope that your driver that you pick on your team is not involved in that wreck. So, I believe what I said about Kyle Busch. I like Kyle Busch, but just not this week too much as far as the price point. And like I said, I'll be off that train this week.
All right, guys. Thanks again for tuning in. Remember to like, share, favorite, and subscribe. One last thought I want to leave you with this week. I believe this next practice that we're getting ready to have happen while I'm editing this video is going to be important. Feel free to ask us questions about it. If we feel the need to update something, or if there's a wreck or something along those lines, we'll make sure to put that out on Twitter and on the YouTube channel and on Facebook to give you that information. But guys, we love interacting with you. Thank you for the interaction last week. Feel free to send us more questions. Like, share, favorite, subscribe, and with that said, I hope I'm making a lot of money this week. I hope you guys are also making money, but I want to make more. So let's have a great week. Let's all make some killer money. Peace out, guys.
Have a great weekend, everybody.